Well, in this business, seems like everyone gives you stickers for everything. So, what do you do but stick them on the inside of your toolbox? So what have I got here? The Rig Loft. I don't even know where that's from. I don't know where the Rig Loft is.
That's Matt Otto.
Oh, okay. It's Matt Otto. Oh, I must have had this down in Mystic with me. This is HOS Panther, which is a offshore supply vessel that former apprentice Molly works on. This one came from Brad and Cricket at Fretwater Boat Works. And now I got my Annie B from Pine to Palm right in there. So if anybody wants to send me stickers, hopefully I'll run out of space on this thing. So let's do this. The usual spot.
Near the heater.
Okay. Hey everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. It is Valentine's Day. February update here at Lowell's Boat Shop. So, let's run around. It's a Wednesday afternoon. It is about a little after 4 o'clock. This is an off week for our junior apprentices, so we only have our senior apprentice crew here, and we'll go see what they're doing in a minute. We'll start here because this is next to this little heat source because it is cold outside, and this building is incredibly, let's see, it's got a lot of air exchange, they would say. So when the wind's blowing this way at the windows, the doors on the roadside tend to blow open. So there's enough air exchange that happens. So here we have a Lunenburg Dory. So these are made at the Dory shop in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. This one's a curious one because the starboard side, basically, the planking rotted away, but the port side seems to be okay. So it must have been a storage issue or something like that. What is curious about these, a couple of things. They have a lot more rocker than our boats, and you can, if you're used to looking at dories like I am, you can pick them out of a crowd pretty quickly. They're also painted the telltale yellow and green, very vibrant. But one of the curiosities is different from ours. If you look at these frames, they're grown crooks, usually spruce or hackmatack, and tamarack or larch, it could be known as. But they're fitted after, so these are made over a mold, and then you can see the frames come in after, and they're kind of notched around to fit against the frames. Whereas the frames on our dory, which I can show you maybe downstairs, is just straight, and the planks only hit it at the laps, and otherwise there's a gap. So what that allows you to do is have no bevels on these laps at all. So these planks here, it's full thickness right there. The other one going on the other side is full thickness. They're just overlapping each other. And then when you come into the end here, into the gain, they've planed a shiplap on it, and you can see a little ramp starts right there, right down to half the thickness. And then on the other plank, the same thing will happen, and they come right in to one plank thickness at the transom, same with the stem. So that's a curiosity. It allows them to build them really quickly because you don't have to, for us, we bevel the upper outside edge of the plank and the lower inside edge. So you've got two bevels where these have zero. So they can go together really quickly. The downside of that is you have a really long fastener. This is 2 layers of 5/8 plank, so you got 1.25 inches here at the lap. And it tends to make a little more of a chonky looking lap, a little more gormy as they would call it in Maine. It's just not, it doesn't look as fine, but for a working dory, who cares? So we're putting a new side on this, new rails. It's got new transom already. Painted all up for a customer up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Over here, we have Mohawks, a new one, and a rebuild. So the new one is now getting its primer coat, getting ready for paint. We put a new bottom on the rebuild, and when we turned it upright, so one of the things that happens is with years and years of winter maintenance, they sand every other year, every couple of years, all the varnish off and start again, and you end up taking a lot of wood, and you do that over and over and over again. So you got a really thin transom here. The shear planks actually, over time, they had sanded the heads off of the rivets, the nails, and so there was nothing holding them on anymore. So, and you could see, and this happens in this shop this time of day, with the sun coming in, you could see a horrible waviness to the shear plank. So those have come off, and honestly, if you go through, because we were replacing the rails anyway, the time to strip that down, make that varnish look good again, if you just put a new plank on, it's honestly, it's less time. So that's what we're doing here. But she looks a little naked without her side. There's your boat side right there. If only you could pre-make these, but you can see as you look at it how the shear line now, it's got a divot and a divot. You know, divots where it's been sanded over time, and you can also see here. Well, you can't because they're all out, but you can see how. Well, first of all, you can see. I bet you I have a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch difference between this thickness, which was full thickness, and where they've sanded it. So, not much you can do. Just go hang that in a seafood restaurant somewhere. Over here.
We're gonna line up the grain like we have been on the planks, right?
How old is this boat, Johnny? 74?
50 years.
50 years old. So
74, so now it's, I
You
think
get-
that's 50 years.
50 years on these. And what he's doing here is drilling a hole in the fastener because they won't back out on their own. And using, what's that thing called?
Easy out.
An easy out to try to get them out of the boat. So that's a Beetle cat, telltale Beetle cat that we're going to completely rebuild. And when she's all pretty and new, you folks at home someone can go home with it. It'll be for sale. All right. You guys can resume. Resume your yapping. All right. In here, we've been making some progress on this Shallop boat thing. If you look inside, we've pretty much got all the floors renewed. And there are a couple of spots where the upper frames, we're sort of doing some spot repair on that. But for the most part, they're fine. It's just floors. On the outside here, Jeff made this jig, this router jig, to eliminate the butts. So butt joints historically on any boat like this are problematic. They leak. They tend to be a spot in the plank that's not fair. And they're really a thing, especially with softwood planking, they're really a pre-epoxy sort of joint. With epoxy now, we don't really have to have butts. We can just scarf these planks together. So what we've done, if you come around this side, I suppose, that jig, you screw to the side of the hull where a butt is, and the router actually makes your nice little scarf. And then you glue a chunk on the outside like so and shave it all down. And that connects those two planks, basically scarfs them together in place, and will eliminate the butt blocks in this whole boat, which, again, not only are they problematic for caulking and water ingress, but they also, are there any in the boat now? Yeah. They also, in a place like this, they fill up most of the area between a frame bay, or in a frame bay, and it catches all kinds of detritus, traps water, and tends to rot the area around it as well. And also where you have a butt, you also have two bits of end grain coming together, and they tend to suck water in, and the planks get soft and rot there, and then the fasteners give up there sooner as well. So a very imperfect joint, but one that was widely used because there was nothing better. So we're going to do all that. We've got some more floors to go in here, a couple back aft to replace. I'm waiting on some lumber to come in. We had some curved pieces of locust that we have to have milled up. So I'm waiting for those to come back, and then we'll do these last few floors, but we've got plenty else to do. There's our Haven 12.5, which is waiting warmer weather for some final paint and final touches over there. But again, looking for an owner for a nice brand new Haven 12.5. We will be doing a sail-making workshop with Harold Burnham, where we'll be laying out and at least starting the sails, the suit of sails for that boat. So we'll do that in Essex in his sail loft. Let's go downstairs and see what those kids are up to. All right, look alive. The boss is here.
And so I talked to them. They said that they don't have to risk a lady. They said that they didn't have anybody in except for the business.
So down here we have the star of fore and aft, William Tomowski, multitasking. He's doing a business deal.
It's different time zone.
Always be selling, buddy. Always be selling. William, tell the people at home what you're doing.
All right, we're working on the next plank for this boat. So we spiled it, which is where you take the plank, you put it up to the side here, and you'll mark the top of the old plank. You'll measure up to where the top of this next plank will be, and then you put it on the bench. You even out all those lines, and then the first step, which we're doing now, is to plane down to that first line. We cut off the excess, and we're just trying to plane down to that line so that we'll have the right bottom edge for the plank. Then the next step will be to flip it back up on the bench, and we'll put a bevel on there so that that one matches up with this one that's right on here.
So this goes back to what I was talking about with that Lunenburg Dory. We have a bevel here on the upper outside of this plank, the garboard, and then we have to put a matching one on the lower inside face of that one. So it's a lot of touches, meaning you have to touch that plank quite a number of times, and all that is just time, and time is money. So William's kind of leading this. This is a new 20-foot, well, it's a 15-foot dory by definition, but it's about 20 feet overall. And this is going to be worked into our fleet of dories. So we're slowly renewing our dory fleet that we use out here on the river. And apropos of that, currently on Monday nights, I'm over at the Governor's Academy in Byfield teaching a dory building class to them. They are looking for a fleet of dories as well, and they're going to build at least one over there. This might become an ongoing thing until they actually have a fleet of dories, but we're doing the same thing over there. Even though it's 20 feet overall, this would be considered a 15-foot dory, and that is because the bottom is 15 feet in length. Dories, fishing dories in particular, were the length was delineated by bottom length, and the different bottom lengths were for different applications. So a 12-foot would be a single dory. It's actually pretty small, meaning only one person would be in it. I think a 14-footer would be like a haddock dory. A 15-footer would be a double dory or a halibut dory. And the reason it was by bottom length is that when these were mass produced, when you went to build a boat, you called upstairs for a bottom, and whatever that length was what you started with, and then typically the finished product would end up about 3 or 4 feet longer than the actual bottom with the overhangs. And so it didn't matter what the bottom was, the rest of the boat built the same. You had the same frames, the same transom, the same stem, and you just went from there. So the bottom length is a shop term, I suppose, for just not screwing up on the bottom. If you wanted a 20-foot dory and somebody accidentally threw down a 14-foot bottom, it could get confusing, and that was just a way to keep it straight. Thanks for tuning in, and if you've made it this far, then you really care, and that's great because I'm going to tell you what's coming up. So at the end of this month, we have a winter speaker series. Bethany Dureau from the Newbury Historical Society and I will be talking about a deck log. So she found in some auction a deck log, which is essentially a piece of slate that they used to keep the running log or the rough log on deck when they were on the ship, and then they would copy it fair into the smooth log down below. If it's chalk on a chalkboard on a ship, no doubt none of these things really exist anymore, with the exception of this one. And this records the last day of this captain's life. And so he was keeping this log, and not to ruin the story, but in the evening of day 2, he gets washed overboard off of Cape Cod and disappears. And so all of his stuff, including this log, ended up in his box and went home and sat somewhere for 150 years until somebody opened it up and realized what it was. And thank God they didn't erase it. So that'll be a talk at the end of the month. Our summer programs are up on the website. So if you have kids and you're looking for something to occupy their summer, take a look at the website. And we have plenty of opportunities both in the shop and on the water to get kids out and get them adventuring. We are looking for a board member. So we are trying to target some people with particular skills, and in this case we're hoping to find someone who has some fundraising experience and can lead the board in some fundraising activities. Last year we added some benefits to the staff, so for 15 years we have not been able to offer staff benefits, and finally last year we did a matching health program for full-time employees, and we did a 401k program. So those are adding clearly to the budget for the expense lines on the budget, and we need to make up that gap through fundraising, and so we are looking for a board member with some fundraising experience to join the board and hopefully kick that up a notch. So that's what's happening here, and it's cold. It's pretty cold this time of year, but you can still come visit. We tend to hang out around these wood stoves quite a bit, but we're here all year, and pretty soon, if you watch these updates, we'll be pulling docks in, and before you know it, we'll have boats in the water. So see you soon. How's your dad, William?
It's good. It's good.
So for this here, I mean, I love that you're like shipping this little thing out,
Just doing the epoxy,
but you're gonna,
right?
well, to get a piece to glue in there, you're gonna have to, I would bend a piece in, like I wouldn't cut one in. So you're gonna want to do a shallow
Sure.
incline out, in and out, but it's got to be fair for the glue to stick. And then if you're mixing epoxy anyway, you might as well like
Like that.
deal with this garbage, you know,
Okay.
and all the way. I mean, now that the plank's piled, you know what's going to be in it, so you can get rid of all those. And we don't have them that big, I think, but we have pre-made bungs up to 1 inch. But those are going to be, I just find the biggest one and make a bunch of bungs that size. Just do them. And if you're going to, well,
Did you make that one, dude? That's a good one.
Goldilocks.
Oh.
Thomas.
I made that. Yeah.
To
Good
you.
one, dude.
Look at you. For that matter,
Satisfying.
you can do them in that because you know what you're going to use in that too.
Thought I'd hang
If
it
you-
up
if-
for everyone
Yeah,
else
you
to
should
see.
file that one too, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, but you're quickly going to get this to a point where you can't do anything with it.
Right.
So you might as well.
so you want to bend one in instead of like cutting the shape into it.
Yeah. So if you just do a shallow like swoopty,
Mhm.
you can just take a thin piece and just bend it in.
Sure.
It's just easier than trying to cut because the cut's not going to be perfect,
Mhm.
whereas the bending it in will be.
Okay.
And you get a better joint in a way because you know if you're bending this down, you're going to have it tight everywhere else. I would also resist the urge to make it just this width, make it a little bit wider, and then just shave it to. Cool. All right. I'll leave you be. Don't forget to teach these guys something.
Okay.
Maybe let them spile the other side.
I was not watching where I was going as per usual. It's honestly while I'm filming.
Yeah.
I should have died by now.
Yeah. All right.